News and issues about irregularities in government procurement process are as old as the Republic itself. Corruption, bribery, and anomalies hound the system, discouraging the private sector to do business with the government. This led to stunted growth in crucial sectors of the country. But with the passage of Republic Act No. 9184 or the Government Procurement Reform Act of 2003, the Philippines introduced much-needed reforms and provided more stringent requirements to lessen, if not eliminate, these irregularities in the hopes of encouraging the private sector from investing in the government for the benefit of all. Learn about government procurement and more in today's episode entitled Securing Contracts Through Public Bidding, a perspective on the government procurement process. This is Prime Movers, a legal podcast that covers the latest and relevant trends and insights on Philippine legal issues and topics, expertly discussed and simplified by the experienced legal team at Gorriceta, Africa, Cauton, and Saavedra. In today's podcast, Edrian Apaya, a junior partner and a member of the litigation and corporate department of the firm, will walk us through the process of securing contracts with the government through the procurement process.
Hello everyone and welcome to another episode of Prime Movers. My name is Shai Sison. I am a counsel at Gorriceta, Africa, Cauton, and Saavedra, and your host for today. In this 12th episode, we're going to have a conversation on government procurement. It's something we often see in the headlines, but few, myself included, don't fully grasp beyond the words irregularities or anomalies that accompany it. Today, I am joined by Attorney Edrian Apaya. He's returning to the show. This is his second time, I believe. Attorney Ed is a partner at Gorriceta, and his practice areas include taxation law, general corporate law, litigation, transportation law, and of course today's topic, government procurement. Along with his vast experience in conducting due diligence and complex property acquisitions for various clients, Attorney Ed has considerable success representing clients in their bids to secure government contracts in Quezon City, the City of Manila, and a host of provinces in the Philippines. Hi, Attorney Ed, and welcome back to Prime Movers.
Hi, Attorney Shai. Thank you for having me.
It's nice to have you back, Attorney Ed, and I understand you have a pretty packed schedule, so we really appreciate you making the time. Okay, let's get right to it. To start things off, in a nutshell, what is government procurement in the context of Philippine laws?
Okay, government procurement is a process in which all units of government, whether national or local, acquires goods and or services at the best possible price. The idea behind government procurement is that government agencies can acquire quality goods and services through the bidding process.
So the bidding process is pretty much just limited to goods and services, and everything else is like no man's land?
Well, the term goods and services already comprise a broad spectrum of things that may be subject to government procurement. To give you a perspective, any resources that is used by the government in its day-to-day operations must undergo procurement. Also, big-ticket projects of the government like roads, bridges, and the like must also be selected through procurement. In other words, procurement plays a major role in the delivery of all Philippine government priorities, from the free drugs and medicines at public hospitals, the public school buildings, desks and chairs, to even the guns and ammunitions of the military and the police. Those are obtained through government procurement.
Our listeners may be curious, Ed, why go through public bidding? Won't this slow things down? Can't the government just buy, let's say, office supplies and national bookstore?
According to our Supreme Court, public biddings are held for the best protection of the public and to give the public the best possible advantages by means of open competition among the bidders. It is actually a mechanism that enables the government agency to avoid or preclude anomalies in the execution of public contracts.
And is that a hard and fast rule, meaning the government absolutely cannot contract with anyone without going through public bidding?
Well, let me clarify that. While public bidding is the preferred mode for the government to acquire goods and services from the public, our lawmakers are wise enough to foresee that there are instances when the public bidding may do more harm than good. For instance, when there is a need for an immediate purchase of goods due to an emergency or calamity, the process of bidding would be too cumbersome and impractical. In those instances, the procuring entity can utilize alternative methods of procurement which are allowed by law.
And what are these alternative methods, Ed?
The alternative methods include limited source bidding, direct contracting, repeat order, shopping, or even negotiated procurement. The conditions upon which this may be used can be found under the procurement law.
We all know that government contracts involve huge sums of money, and some, if not most of our listeners, may be wondering, can anybody participate in government procurement? Let's say I'm one of those with pandemic-born enterprises. I lost my corporate job and I started what is now a thriving food business. Can I participate in public bidding?
Of course, Atty. Shai. For the information of the public, any sole proprietorship, partnership, or corporation, even joint ventures, can participate in government procurement. The law encourages more participants in the public bidding. Our government procurement system operates on the principle of competitiveness, in a sense that it gives equal opportunity to enable private contracting parties who are eligible and qualified to participate in public bidding. In simple terms, as long as any entity is qualified based on the qualifications set by the procuring entity and with the lowest bid price, they can score a government contract.
Okay, so public bidding isn't limited to, the conglomerates or companies that have been around for years.
Yes, even MSMEs with little to no experience in dealing with the government can. It is important to note that the needs of the government and the public is not limited to big projects. Even small projects are procured through bidding. So, that means that there are a lot of choices for commercial establishments to participate. What is important is that the prospective bidder knows the requirements of the procuring entity to avoid any challenges in their bid.
Okay, Ed, it's good you mentioned challenges. Let's say I'm thinking, how folks typically think that, government contracts, big bucks, and I dive into the bidding process head on. What challenges will I face? Maybe you can share with us some challenges that your clients generally faced in the past?
I think the first mistake that entities make when it's their first time participating in a bidding is they underestimate the entire process of it. You see, the bidding documents or the documents issued by the procuring entity as the basis of the bids can be easily obtained by the public. It is actually sold by the procuring entity. The bidding documents contain all the requirements for the bid. It has a technical description of the goods and services, the forms which must be executed by the prospective bidders, and the instructions which the public must comply. Because of this, prospective bidders sometimes become too confident, but commit mistakes in the process, which lead, of course, to failure to qualify during the bidding.
Do you mean like blatant mistakes that qualify the bidders, Ed?
You mean disqualify? Of course not. You see, the law requires non-discretionary pass or fail in all government procurement programs. This means that the officials involved in the bidding are not allowed to exercise discretion in approving or denying any applications. Once they see that some documents are missing or that any document contains any irregularity in its contents, they are mandated to deny it. They are prohibited from entertaining any request for leniency or substantial compliance. So no, the mistake doesn't have to be blatant or substantial. In fact, just to share, I've encountered an application which has a misspelling in one of the documents submitted to the procuring entity. When the BAC noticed it, they denied it outright. So it is important for prospective bidders to be meticulous in the preparation of the needed documents, since it is always better to be overprepared than underprepared.
So is it correct to say that the procurement process is that technical that one needs the assistance of a lawyer? And not just any lawyer, but one that is an expert on or experienced with government procurement?
To be honest, there are technicalities in the process, and having a lawyer or at least a person knowledgeable about procurement law will certainly make it easy for the business to participate in it. These persons will help you weave through some legal obstacles and present you some creative ways to solve these challenges.
Well, Ed, they say experience is the best teacher. And we all know that you have a lot of experience weaving through these so called legal obstacles. So, Sensei, could you share with us some of these obstacles that prospective bidders should expect or at the very least look into?
Well, the mere collation of the needed documents and how to accomplish some forms that come with it is a challenge already. You see, we can classify the documentary requirements for bidding as legal, technical, and financial. The legal documents are some certifications from the regulatory agencies of the Philippines, like the SEC, BIR, DTI, and the local government units to prove the juridical capacity of the business enterprise. Usually, there is no problem here. But if the bidding is scheduled sometime in January, wherein businesses are still processing their permits, it is challenging. Also, the problem usually comes in the accomplishment of the technical documents. The technical documents include the statement of the bidder of all its ongoing and completed government contracts, their single largest completed contract, the technical specification, and the schedule of delivery of the goods and services that the bidder promises to provide. The task of accomplishing these forms is daunting at first, but sometimes you really just need to be creative in dealing with this. For example, the law requires the prospective bidder to provide its single largest completed contract, which should be at least 50% of the approved budget for the contract. It is one of the requirements that is difficult to comply with. Many prospective bidders, most especially MSME, would be discouraged to participate when they see this requirement, but actually, this can be accomplished even by a mere MSME. The good thing about our procurement law is that it is designed for these small entities to participate. All they have to do is to think out of the box and understand what the law allows.
Aside from MSMEs, what other business entities could actually participate in biddings?
It can be participated by a sole proprietorship, a corporation, a partnership, or even a joint venture.
Okay, so using my imaginary pandemic-born food business as an example, aside from the legal and technical documents, what other documents should I look into?
The prospective bidders must also be careful in accomplishing the bid form, which contains the bid price. I know some bidders, especially those who are inexperienced, are really eager to bag the contract, so they indicate a very low bid price. But because of this, they end up losing money or the quality of their goods or services suffers. What must be done is for the prospective bidder to provide a reasonable price based on certain factors like the cost of production, delivery, and the market price of the goods and services, while taking into consideration inflation, among others. This is a more realistic way of setting the price without sacrificing the quality of the goods.
Okay, now it's time to address the elephant in the room. A common notion about government procurement is that it is prone to corruption. In fact, we see it in the news so often that it's practically the norm, so to speak. Can we have your thoughts on this?
We've seen it in the news that there were previous government procurements that were very problematic. To be fair, our current law on procurement has introduced significant changes in the procurement in the Philippines. Prior to its enactment, laws on government procurement were fragmented, and there is really no definite guidelines in the process of selecting the rightful bidders. But the enactment of RA 9184 consolidated all these laws to establish an open, transparent, and competitive bidding. But of course, Attorney Shai, I must admit that this 20-year-old law must be revisited to ensure that it is still in keeping with the times.
Like you said, Attorney Ed, these are like very antiquated laws already. So if it were entirely up to you, what changes would you make in our government procurement system?
As we all know, our society now revolves around technology, which was not commonly known or used when the law was enacted. Now, we have online shopping platforms like Shopee and Lazada, which we can utilize to obtain our needs without ever leaving the comfort of our own homes. I think it is high time that we adopt a system similar to this for government transactions. Imagine if there is a single platform where government agencies can purchase office supplies without undergoing the tedious process of public bidding. That will cut the processing time by a significant period. In fact, just recently, There are moves to introduce amendment to RA 9184 to do away with the procurement process for certain goods and services. In the proposal, the PhilJobs will manage an e-marketplace, a Shopee or Lazada-like online platform where agency can directly procure supplies and equipment from competent and reputable suppliers.
And what's your take on this?
Of course, Atty. Shai, that is a welcome change. I must admit, the system of government procurement in the Philippines is not perfect. Any proposed system that could improve what the current system should not be ignored. If this change is enacted into law, this will certainly encourage more business establishments to participate in government procurement, and that is a win for the government.
Okay, to wrap things up, Attorney Ed, any parting words to our listeners who may still be skeptical about dealing with government?
I know what makes the public skeptical about dealing with the government, and those certainly are concerns that are worth noting. But our system has certainly improved from what we had in the past. There are safeguards in the law which will protect the public in case there are anomalies in the bidding process. So, I encourage everyone, especially business establishments, to give government procurement a chance. In this way, you are not only earning money, but you are also helping the government deliver their mandate to the people by providing quality and efficient public service.
Thank you once again, Attorney Ed, for sharing your incredible insights. It truly was a privilege having you in today's episode, and we hope to see you again soon.
Thank you, Atty. Shai.
And that's a wrap for our 12th episode of Prime Movers. We hope you enjoyed and learned from our discussion today. Tune in for our next episode on rehabilitation and alternative to collection. Once again, this is Attorney Shai. Thank you for listening.
Prime Movers is produced by Gorriceta, Africa, Cauton, and Saavedra. Gorriceta is a top-tier full-service firm under the Legal 500 and Chambers and Partners. Visit our website, LinkedIn, and Facebook pages for daily legal developments.